Welcome to Ablaze Ministries International Podcast. We are the youth and young adults of Hope Church Brisbane. For more information about our ministries, weekly gatherings and activities, please visit our website at www.ablaze.org.au. And right now, get ready for an inspiring message and start living out your God-given potential today.
Come on, take out your word of God. Tonight, we are going to look at the book of John, chapter 13. Okay, next week on Friday night, we are celebrating Good Friday. And on Sunday, we are celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, the passage that we're looking at tonight, this is a scene before Jesus would be arrested. And as you guys know, that he surrendered, and he went to the cross and he died on the cross. Okay, so Good Friday is good and actually good for us because Christ gave up, everything. He surrendered his life for all of us. It's Good Friday because it's good for us. And then he rose again on the third day, and that is Easter Sunday. So tonight we're going to look at the scene before Jesus going to be arrested. And this is a very important scene because, as I said before, tonight it's all about appreciating everyone who serves the Lord. Now, serving is a very important part of Christian faith. Okay. If you just go to church, enjoy the service, and just have fun, that's not good enough. God has a greater plan for every one of us to be involved in, and that is through serving. Say it with me, serving. Through your acts of service, that when you will grow. Imagine this, if you stay at home, you don't have any responsibilities, you just be at home and do nothing, you will never actually learn to grow and become the best that you can be. Now, all of us here, God has given you guys giftings and talents. The question is this, whether are we actually using that for the purpose of God? Now, 2 weeks ago, we talked about faithfulness. We talked about God cares about our faithfulness. He cares about how faithful we are to Him. And more than that, when we are faithful to God, it is the Lord who will actually give us the success and fruitfulness. So last week, Pastor Wilson talked about fruitfulness, right? So now we're going to look at our lives. When we bear fruit, our fruit, the things that we do with our lives is meant to be a blessing to other people. That's why you guys, sometimes you hear this saying that we are blessed to be a blessing. Can you say with me? We are blessed. Come on, everyone say with me. We are blessed to be a blessing. God has blessed us so that we will be a blessing for other people. Tonight I want to challenge all of us here to be a part of serving the Lord. So if today you're not a part of any ministry, I want you to really consider anything that you can be involved in, anything that you can be a part of. It's so easy to start with ushering or welcome team or, if you can smile. Everyone can smile, right? Yeah. Everyone can actually fold bulletins, right? Yeah. Everyone can do that, right? Everyone can just shake someone's hand, right? Come on, let's shake someone's hand. Someone next to you. Shake the hands. Yeah. So you are it. You are the candidate. You are qualified for the ministry, So I'm sure the EJ will be really happy. So make sure after this, you guys approach EJ and say, hey, I want to be part of the welcome team. Okay. If you like to play the music, you love to play an instrument or to sing, you can actually be trained to be part of the worship team. Okay? Or if you like to, I don't know, most of you guys here, or many of you guys here, if you guys play games, your finger will be really quick, right? Because it click. Am I saying the truth? Yes. You know what? You should join a visual team at the back right there because you can actually make sure the lyrics come up on time. Okay. I'm saying the wrong things here, but I think please approach Hannah or Evan after this for He's shaking head. I'm so sorry. I should be involved in the visual team before I actually got up. Okay. Whatever ministry that you like to be involved in, program. I think we need more people to help with, with everything that's happening here. Like, I don't know, overseeing all the logistics and turning on the lights at the right time, or even, plan out the program for different services, things like that. If you'd like to be involved in, you can actually approach Rayshon. So we're here together not to be a consumer. We're here to be a giver. God wants us to be a giver, a contributor of His work. So let's have a look at the book of John chapter 13. Okay, the whole portion here, verse 1 to 17. All right? Okay, for those who don't have the Bible, I got it on the screen for you, but please bring your Bible. Don't come to church without the Bible. Okay? So John 13, 1 to 17. I'm just going to be reading from 1 to 5, and then we're just going to jump to 15 to 17 quickly. Okay, here we go. All right. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave the world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. The evening meal was being served. Okay, imagine this. This is like a dinner time, supper time, eating time. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Okay, now jumping to verse 15. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Okay, what's happening in this scene? Basically, Jesus demonstrated something that is out of the world to the disciple, because the disciples, they were very surprised of what happened when in that moment. Now, in this passage, okay, testing. Am I good? Am I good? Okay. All right. In this passage, what we're seeing here is that Jesus at the Last Supper, and what's happening here, when they were having a meal, before they finished everything, Jesus got up and he demonstrated something for the disciple to remember by. Now, he actually began to serve the disciple. Let me tell you something. When we go back to Jesus' time, okay, before anyone enter into someone's house, there will be a servant, okay, who actually was set aside to wash the feet of the guest. Can you imagine this? Back then, people do not have Toms or Nikes, like proper shoes to wear. So basically, they just wear sandals. So they wore sandals, and the road is not as smooth as we have today in Australia. It's very dirty and really muddy and everywhere it goes. So can you imagine this? The feet of people, or in general, before they enter into the house, they are very dirty and smelly. So they need to be washed. Only slaves and servants, they set aside, they are the people who basically wash the feet. Can you imagine this? Jesus, he's recognized not just a rabbi or teacher or master, but God. He did something that ordinary people who witnessed that would say like, whoa, it shouldn't be happening right now, that you're washing the feet. You're not even servants, And I mentioned this before. If you guys study the history of Jesus and what happened then is that all these disciples, they're like the students of Jesus, right? I use this example a lot, like Kung Fu Panda. When all these disciples trying to learn the martial arts and the best move ever, they will do everything just to gain that knowledge. They will cook for the master, they will clean for the master, they will do everything. But one thing that the disciples would not do, and that is to wash the feet of the master, because that task is reserved just for the servants, slaves. Can you imagine if Jesus, who's a teacher and a master and God that we know, that he now bowed down and washed the feet of the disciple? So he gave them the biggest lesson ever, and that is about sacrificing and serving and surrendering in humility. That's why this is what he did before he went to the cross. He was showing the disciples that this is a greater lesson that I want to leave with you guys. So tonight, I want to actually talk about the heart of a radical servant. It's radical because what Jesus did was radical. Jesus showed us how we should serve God and one another in a radical way. I want to talk about 3 characteristics of someone, a servant, whose heart in serving the Lord. Number 1 is that we serve out of love. Say with me, love. In verse 1, it said there's a Jesus now. He now showed them the full extent of his love. So God now, he revealed his love to the people by setting an example. Jesus was motivated by love for his disciples. Okay, you guys knew that Jesus actually washed the feet of Judas. In this passage, the Bible talks about Judas who was going to betray Jesus. Jesus knew full well that this man is about to betray him. This man is going to put him in a very difficult position. But he still washed Judas' feet. That he still bowed down and served Judas. Okay, I don't know about you, but I find it's really hard to actually love someone who, you even know someone's going to kill me. Someone is full-on malicious against me and trying to do whatever to, break me or whatever it is. Normal people would not want to do such thing. But Jesus did the opposite thing, and that is to bow down and wash even the feet of his enemy or someone who would going to betray him. You see, love wins everything. We heard this on the cross. What's on God's mind when he was on the cross? It's all of us. And because of his love, that's why he went to the cross. Jesus is saying that now I'm showing you the full extent of my love. And he was telling them, I'm about to die for you. I'm about to give it all to you. Serving out of love. So today, when we serve, when we actually do ushering, when we do visuals, when we do PA worship, what is your motivation? If you're motivated by love, you will feel satisfied. You will do it with joy. Not like, I have to do it again. You will make yourself available. I notice sometimes, we plan for our schedules and things. And, when it comes to ministry, sometimes we leave the ministry to the very end and we give priority to other things. But let me challenge you today that before you say no when you are putting on a roster, why don't you make room for God? Why don't you actually set this as your priority? Why don't you set aside Friday that you will come early, that you are free to be able to come early, help set up different things in church? Why don't you make it to the point that when you actually get asked to do certain things, that you will make yourself available? You will see the blessing that come with it. Love is our motivation in our serving. The second things I want to share quickly, serving out of all we are. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. You see, Jesus did not just bleed for all of us. He gave up his life. He did not just say, take it, my arm. Just take it, take it, take it. Ah! You know? So we're not saved by just one arm of Jesus. Take it, take my leg. Cut it off. You know, Jesus did not just spare one part of his body just to save us. He died on the cross for all of us. He gave his all for us. You know, it's very interesting because what John is saying in this passage is that Jesus, when he gave up, he did not just give up one thing, but he gave up everything that he had. He gave up the privileges as God in heaven. He came down this earth and he lived among the people, and until the very end that he died for all of us. I don't know about you, but every time when I read this passage, I have to think that, you know, I'm so important. I'm so valuable. I'm so precious to the point that God actually came and died for me. In Mark chapter 10, verse 45, guys, listen to this. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. You know, when I went to Thailand this trip, and basically, if you've been to Thailand before, any other countries in Asia, like people actually, they prepare food and, you know, all that stuff, and even giving money to the temple, to the monk, right? So I actually saw, you know, one time that people prepare so many things that they go to the temple and they bring this, I want to give. And, you know, I saw a lot of course, monk, you know, religious people, like they're just like taking in. Actually, there's been a big case at the moment in Thailand that this particular monk actually get all the offerings and the money, and he actually ran away, like millions of baht, so like millions of dollars actually, you know. And the case came out because they discovered like he actually got his private jets, he bought like cars and all this. No one ever knew that before. You know what, when I think about that, I really feel like we have the God who never takes. We have a God who always gives. We have a God who say, hey, I want to be of your service. I want to be a part of your life. Because this God decided to come into the world and gave up everything. For the Son of Man, he came not to be served, but to serve. You see, this is why when we think about what we have today, I want you to think hard, because when you give to God, it's not about giving the leftover. It's about giving God our very best, that we actually give him with everything that we have. You know, the more you surrender to God, the more Christ-like that you become. The more you say, God, I don't want just to give part of my time, but I want to give you the very best. Okay, when I became a Christian, my mentor taught me this very good lesson. When you plan out for your week, you know, your quiet time, your devotion to God should be your best time in the day. It shouldn't be the time you have awake, half sleep. It should be the time that you are able to focus and you're able to give God your very best. When it comes to money, you know, don't just give God your spare change. We give God the very best. We give God what we have. We give God the very best that we have, all that we have. You know, that's really challenging me every time when I think about it. That Jesus, he gave up his all for all of us. And last but not least, he also served outside his comfort zone. Okay. Now, he got up, and I said before, he actually washed the feet of the disciples. You know, this is really radical. Because when you think about Jesus, like I said before, that God himself, that he did something totally outside his comfort zone. You know, you might say, oh, he's God, he could do that. But when you think about it, he demonstrated what a true servant should be. It was radical for Jesus to do this. It's not a normal way. It's not a common thing. That's why when we serve God in any areas of our lives, don't just feel comfortable. You know, sometimes we live in a society that says, you do when you can. You do it at your convenience. But let me change your perspective today. That even when it's not convenient, that we can serve God. That sometimes we need to wake up early. We need to, you know, come early to prepare. Or you need to stay up a little bit to just get things done. We should do it. You know, I still remember this back then when we didn't have a Unidus. When we didn't have Unidus like this. You know, many of us here, we need to actually like go to Gifford Uni or, you know, other places that we used to have church. We set up, you know, some of us actually drove the van, the green van that we had. Remember that time? And every service had to pack everything up. We need to like move everything back in the van. And you know what? Let me tell you this, like when I look at that day, when I see a lot of people serve, you know, like actually I never had anyone complain. Maybe they complain behind my back, but anyway. You know, but a lot of people, they just serve. And that's why today, you know, for those who just came to Ablaze, when we have everything set up like this, guys, don't take it lightly. You know, 6 o'clock is too early for me. You know, I'm going to be here on the dot. You know, 6:45 when the service starts. You know, come early, be on time. You know, and I want to appreciate those who are working. I know it's hard to actually leave work and come here straight away. We should really give a big hand to those who actually work. You guys finish work at 5 or whatnot, you know, and I really appreciate that you actually make sure that when you are serving that you're here on time, even early to actually do this. And I want to appreciate all the uni students as well, like you guys, you know, I know some of you guys actually set schedule in the way on Friday that you actually finish early or that you make sure that you actually serve, you're able to come to serve. Come on, give them a hand too. Thank you so much for doing that. Serving God, sometimes it can be inconvenient. It might not be, you know, smooth sailing all the time. But that's what Jesus demonstrated for us. You see, I want to challenge you guys here is that when it comes to serve the Lord, it's normal to go all the way and out of our ways to serve the Lord. You know, I've been involved in so many things in the church. And I was involved in welcome team. I was doing everything, you know, like from set up, packing up, and until today, what I'm doing. You know what? If you've been in church long enough, you will know one thing is that the willing people, they're the people that God used the most. Not the capable people, but the most willing people that God can use. So are you available today for God to use? One thing I learned in ministry is that don't be picky and choosy. Oh, I can only do this. Oh, I'm just gifted in this. I'm going to do only this. Other thing I don't want to do. The moment that you become picky and choosy in the thing you want to do, you might miss out on God's preparation period that He has for your life. Always remember this, before Joseph in the Bible, before he became the second command of Egypt, once upon a time he was a slave. Once upon a time he was just ordinary man who just being faithful. Think about Daniel. Think about Jeremiah. Think about Nehemiah. Think about all these wonderful, great leaders in the Bible. They were available. So Ablaze, are we available? Are we willing for God to use us? In my conclusion today, I want to say this. Later in verse 12, it said that when he had finished washing the feet, Jesus put on his clothes and returned to his place. And he said this one thing is that now I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet and also should wash one another. You also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth. No servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who has sent him. Now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them. Jesus has done all this as an example for us. And he also instructing us to do this with the same attitude. Serving God out of love, our comfort zone, and give all that we have to serve him. Because when we do this, we will reflect and reveal Jesus to other people. Now, what we're going to do right now is something that we have done before, but I know that some of you guys here might not have seen this, but we're actually going to do the very same thing as Jesus did, maybe a little bit different in the way that we do, but we're actually going to wash some feet here tonight. And by the way, this is not like a ceremony thing or whatnot. I want to explain to you this is very symbolic for all of us. Because, you know what? For me, I want to be able to serve better. I want to be able to give what God's given to me better. And I know that Ablaze exists today not because of me, not because of Lisa, but because of all of you guys, especially the people who serve in the leadership team. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to wash some feet. And so what we're going to do, we're going to ask Andrea to get everything's ready. And yeah. So, but first and foremost, I'm